Vanity, desire, and the tight skates, a personal reflection on wanting to be seen. I have always been stopped cold by the moment Lucy Carmichael looks the handsome sporting goods clerk in the eye and declares with absolute conviction that she takes a size 5.5. The script is precise here. Walter Kendricks or Wallace, depending on the moment's rhythm, has already sized her up with the easy competence of a man who has fitted hundreds of feet. He knows she wears an 8. The audience knows she wears an 8. Vivian knows she wears an 8. And still Lucy insists. I will get my foot into a 5.5, she says, and the line carries the full weight of a woman who has decided for this one afternoon that reality is negotiable if the alternative is being seen as less than graceful, less than delicate, less than the version of herself she still hopes a stranger might find beautiful. I know that insistence. I have felt it in dressing rooms under fluorescent lights that forgive nothing. I have felt it in the quiet panic of choosing shoes that look right rather than shoes that fit because the looking right felt in that moment like a form of survival. Vanity is rarely discussed with much kindness, especially when it belongs to women past a certain age. We are allowed to be practical. We are allowed to be maternal. We are allowed to be funny. We are less often allowed to want, quite simply to be found desirable. Lucy wants it. She wants it with a transparency that still feels radical. She wants the clerk to see long, slender European feet that signal great beauty. She wants the flirtation to continue. She wants for a few more minutes to be the woman a man might still choose to look at twice. The scene is constructed with exquisite comic cruelty and equal tenderness. Lucy and Vivian arrive with curlers still in their hair, already slightly ridiculous, already aware of their own absurdity. We both look like Yogi Bear, Lucy admits, and the self-awareness only makes the subsequent vanity more poignant. They know how they appear. They proceed anyway. When Walter appears young, unmarried, employed, and in possession of a pulse, the entire temperature of the room changes. Suddenly, the purchase of roller skates is no longer about bonding with Chris. It becomes a performance of attractiveness conducted under fluorescent store lights while wearing hair curlers. The shift is instantaneous and completely human. I think about the particular vulnerability of middle-aged desire. In 1964, as now, women were expected to want love and companionship, yet they were also expected to pretend that wanting had an expiration date. Lucy refuses the pretense. She asks whether Walter is married with the bluntness of someone who has decided that time is too short for subtlety. When he says he is not, the word bingo escapes her before she can stop it. The laugh that follows is earned. But underneath the laugh sits something sharper, the relief of still being in the game even if the game is being played in a sporting goods store on an ordinary afternoon. The tight skates become the perfect physical manifestation of that desire. Lucy will accept pain if the pain allows her to maintain the illusion of delicacy. She will ignore the shoehorn trapped against her heel. She will smile through the obvious discomfort because the alternative, admitting to an 8, feels like admitting to a larger truth about the body she now inhabits. The body that has carried children. The body that no longer fits the sample sizes of her younger imagination. Lucille Ball plays the physical agony with her usual genius. The slight widening of the eyes, the careful way she places the foot, the brittle brightness of the voice insisting that everything is fine. But she also plays the emotional stakes. This is not merely a woman who cannot admit her shoe size. This is a woman who is trying for a few stolen minutes to be looked at as if the years have not yet begun their quiet work. Vivian's presence in the scene complicates everything beautifully. She begins as the practical friend, the one who knows the real size, the one who has shopping of her own to do. And then she stays. She becomes interested in sporting goods. She positions herself as the guardian of Lucy's good fit while simultaneously competing for Walter's attention. The rivalry is never mean-spirited. It is the gentle, familiar competition of two women who still measure their remaining allure against each other and against the mirror of a handsome stranger's eyes. I have known that competition. Most women have. It is rarely about the man. It is about the evidence he seems to offer that one is still visible. When Walter compliments Lucy's feet, someone with feet as nice as yours should be sure and get a good fit, and then elevates the compliment into the realm of European beauty standards. The moment is both absurd and piercing. He is selling skates. He is also, perhaps without fully intending to, selling Lucy a brief return to the feeling of being admired. She drinks it in. She allows herself to believe for the length of a sales transaction that her feet are long and slender and beautiful. The fact that they are currently being crushed into a size that does not belong to them only heightens the pathos. Desire often requires a certain amount of self-betrayal. We edit ourselves to remain eligible for the gaze we still crave. I return often to the way Lucille Ball uses her body in this sequence. The physical comedy of the too small skate is classic Ball: the trapped shoehorn, the forced smile, the careful steps. Yet what lingers is the vulnerability beneath the technique. She allows Lucy to look foolish in the specific way that people look foolish when they are trying very hard to be found attractive. There is no protective irony. There is only the raw wish to be seen as still possible. In a culture that so often punishes women for aging visibly, that wish feels almost subversive. Lucy does not apologize for wanting the clerk's attention. She simply wants it, and the wanting is allowed to stand. The purchase itself becomes a small drama of financial and romantic risk. Lucy charges the skates. Vivian, caught in the same current of possibility, charges an assortment of ridiculous sporting goods she does not need. The two women leave the store laden with packages, and with the fragile hope that Walter will appear at the country club dance the following night. "Don't forget the dance tomorrow night," Lucy reminds him. "I wouldn't miss it for the world," he answers. "Especially if both you ladies will be there." The line is gallant and noncommittal, the perfect response of a man who has enjoyed the flirtation without committing to its consequences. Lucy and Vivian hear what they need to hear. They leave buoyant with possibility. I think about how rarely popular culture allows women of Lucy's age to be this transparent in their desire. We are given stories of maternal sacrifice, of comic incompetence, of wise endurance. We are given fewer stories, in which a woman looks at a younger man and simply wants to be found beautiful by him, even for an afternoon, even in curlers, even while her feet are screaming. The Lucy Show gives us that story without punishing the character for it. The punishment, when it comes, will be physical and comic: the swollen feet, the inability to remove the skates, but it will not be moral. Lucy is not made to feel ashamed of having wanted. She is only made to feel the consequences of having wanted unwisely. That distinction matters. There is a particular loneliness that lives inside Vanity. It is the loneliness of believing that one's value is still contingent on being chosen, being noticed, being found pleasing to the eye. Lucy carries that loneliness lightly, almost gaily, but it is there. The tight skates are its perfect emblem. She will endure pain in order to maintain the possibility of being desired. She will rewrite the evidence of her own body if the rewrite allows the flirtation to continue. I have done quieter versions of the same thing. Most of us have. We have smiled through discomfort. We have agreed to versions of ourselves that no longer fit. We have done it because the alternative, accepting that the gaze has moved on, felt in the moment unbearable. What I love most about the scene is how little it condescends to that longing. The writing is sharp, the physical business is precise, and yet the emotional core is treated with surprising gentleness. Lucy is allowed to be ridiculous and still worthy of affection. She is allowed to want and still remain the heroine of her own story. In the years since these episodes first aired, the culture has grown more sophisticated about many things and somehow less forgiving about this particular form of female desire. We are encouraged to age gracefully, which often means aging invisibly. Lucy refuses invisibility. She insists on the 5.5. She insists on the possibility that she might still be the woman a man looks at with interest. The insistence is comic. It is also in its way brave. When I watch her walk out of the store with packages and hope and feet already beginning to rebel, I feel a complicated tenderness. I want to protect her from the swelling that is coming. I also want to honor the part of her that still believes the dance might change something. Vanity at its most human is simply the refusal to disappear. Lucy Carmichael refuses. She refuses in curlers and in too small skates and in the bright, brittle voice that insists everything is fine. The refusal is messy and costly and ultimately hilarious. It is also one of the most honest things the series ever shows us about the interior life of a woman who is no longer young and not yet ready to be unseen. I carry that honesty with me. On days when I feel the quiet pressure to become smaller, more practical, less visibly hungry for regard, I remember Lucy standing in the sporting goods store smiling through the pain, negotiating with reality for one more hour of being looked at as if she still might be chosen. The skates will exact their price. The feet will swell. The dance will become a different kind of performance entirely. But for a few minutes in that store, she allowed herself to want. And the show, to its lasting credit, allowed her the wanting without apology. That, more than the trapped shoehorn or the perfect timing of the physical gags, is what stays with me. The courage of remaining visible. The comedy of trying to fit into a size that no longer belongs to you. The strange, persistent hope that someone might still see the version of yourself you are not quite ready to release. Lucy Carmichael, for all her chaos, understands that hope. She acts on it. And in acting on it, she gives the rest of us permission to admit that we have felt it too.